Hey guys, Average Bob here. In today's video, we're going to touch on the upcoming NFL draft on Thursday and break down a couple options for the Giants at picks number 5 and 7. Super huge rebuilding draft for the Giants coming up here. Are they going to make picks at both 5 and 7, or are they going to trade out? A couple interesting scenarios that could take place, as well as some high quality athletes available that can step in and play day one. And I think that's what this new regime is going to be looking for. They're going to need guys to play. They're going to need guys to build a culture around. So it's going to be interesting to see how it shakes out. But anyway, let's dive into it.
Ikwem Nkwonu, last year he was an All-American, first team All-ACC, one of the top tackle prospects in the draft for a good reason. Interesting, during his combine, he ran a 4.9440, one of the fastest this year, but literally doesn't make too much sense for an offensive lineman to really care about because they're never running that far or that fast. But that's a video for another day. One knock on him was that he had trouble getting to the second level, but if you're looking at some of his highlight tape, we can see that he's getting there pretty easily. So take that with a grain of salt when these experts and analysts are kind of knocking him for that, because you could see he has the speed. He ran the 4.94, something that we're going to apply across the board for any offensive tackle that we're talking about today. They're going to likely start at right tackle because of Andrew Thomas obviously being on the left-hand side. Next up on our list at number 2 is Evan Neal, offensive tackle from Alabama. He's got a massive 6'7", 337 pounds. Personally, I'm a sucker for Alabama football, so I love everything about what this guy has to offer, his pedigree, his size, especially the extremely high level of competition he's faced over his years at Alabama. Last year, he was a consensus All-American and also first-team All-SEC, and he also won a national championship in 2020. This guy is a 40-game starter in the SEC. You don't get to that level of play without, being a spectacular athlete as well as a great football player. So I think that goes a long way here. With Alabama always in the mix, he's also facing premier competition, week in and week out, which is why I love him as a competitor. And, football at Alabama, he's held to a certain standard of greatness that's expected of him week in and week out, season over season. So I'm hoping that if the Giants do take him, he'll bring that level of greatness to us. Number 3 on our list is Charles Cross, offensive tackle from Mississippi State. Height 6'4", weight 307, first team All-SEC last year. There were a bunch of reports the last few weeks about the Giants absolutely loving Cross during their private workouts with him. Even Peter King noted in his mock draft that a GM went on the record stating that Cross is the best pass protector of all the 3 options available, which would be obviously huge for the Giants as the offensive line play and especially pass protection has been so poor over these last few years. Up next at number 4 on our list is Kayvon Thibodeaux, edge rusher from Oregon. This is an interesting one because it always seemed like, a defensive end or edge rusher was going to be drafted number 1 overall. Right after the season and up until fairly recent, the last few months, it was always Thibodeaux was the first name on that list. And then, as we moved through that timeline, the last few months has been pretty much Aiden Hutchinson out of Michigan. Up until last week when the Vegas odds were updated to be Trayvon Walker out of Georgia at coming in as a minus 200 favorite. So who knows exactly how this will shake out and if he'll even be there for us or who's going to go from a defensive end or edge rusher perspective. But at this point, he could be selected earlier. Honestly, it's hard to really tell who's going to get picked where. But if he is there, I believe it's a great pick for the Giants. It's an immediate need opposite of Azeez Ojulari, who had a pretty solid rookie campaign. And getting the Giants pass rush back to greatness could be a great start, especially with Thibodeaux if he's available. There were some of those bullshit reports about the Giants not liking his attitude, which I believe to be just pre-draft garbage because we all know the Giants have drafted guys with terrible attitudes and off-the-field drama issues, coming in at day 1. So I don't understand why that would have a huge impact on him specifically or this situation in general. Number 5 on our list is going to be Ahmed Saucegardner, cornerback out of Cincinnati. This guy is extremely tall at 6'3" for a cornerback, weighs about 200 pounds, give or take there. It'd be a great pick for the Giants because he's going to come in and make an immediate impact on this defense, give, new coordinator Rick Martindale someone to coach up and develop from day 1. This pick makes a lot of sense, too, as if you look at, James Bradbury, him being gone, sort of a foregone conclusion there. Also losing, Logan Ryan and Peppers also in the secondary. So there's a huge hole there right now, and it has to be plugged by someone. If Saucegardner is there, he is a great opportunity to come in and make that pick. He at the draft ran a 4.140. A lot of comparisons to Antonio Cromartie, so love to see that. Moving into our bonus round here, a couple other things I wanted to touch on, a couple names that we might see that could happen, and a couple other scenarios as well. First things first, Kyle Hamilton out of Notre Dame, safety, huge potential playmaker there at 6'4", 220. A lot of comparisons to a guy like Cam Chancellor, but at the end of the day, he's a safety, and we've already have McKinney and Love, so it's not necessarily like a must pick there. But if the Giants do love him, which they do like Notre Dame guys, right? They have Julian Love there, so who knows? Maybe they'll take him, and he'll probably start over Love if that's the case. But again, kind of what I mentioned before about Saucegardner. There's a lot of holes in the secondary that kind of need to be plugged. So this guy would obviously be very helpful there. Another name being mentioned too would be Derek Stingley from LSU, and then also he's a cornerback, so that could also fit into that scheme. And then also Jermaine Johnson out of Florida State, who's an edge rusher. Obviously, another scenario that could happen here is a trade, right? Joe Schone needs to rebuild this team from the ground up. If someone's desperate enough to trade up for any of these quarterbacks that are available in this year's draft, and he wants to trade back for picks, like that could be a very likely scenario here. I don't see a reason why we wouldn't take more picks, just because, as I mentioned before, the Giants need a lot of work across the board here, and it's not all going to happen during this draft.
So there you have it. Let me know what you guys think. Really looking forward and exciting to this year's draft, because the Giants do have plenty of options as showcased in the video. But if you guys have any thoughts yourselves, did I miss anything? Who do you want to see? Do you want to see some trades? What do you guys want to do as we look forward to next season and rebuilding, which starts on Thursday? Thank you guys again for watching. Really appreciate it, and until next time.